Hi there, in this video we're going to learn CSS. So just so you know, this video is part of a series wherein I teach you web development from start to finish. So this course requires that you know HTML. I'm going to link to the HTML course in the description below, so make sure you watch the HTML course before coming to this one. So in the previous video which we studied HTML, we made use of a text editor known as Notepad++. There is a wisdom behind using Notepad++, and you're going to understand that when we actually start using the new one we're going to use in this video. So with Notepad++, we typed everything ourselves. We didn't have anything to help us bring out some things. We did everything ourselves. So that was to get you used to the HTML tags and how you can make things work without needing help. So in this video, since we're going to learn CSS, we're going to introduce a new text editor called VS Code, Visual Studio Code Editor. So you can get that by going to your web browser. So you type in VS Code, and when you search that, you're going to get the website, the VS Code website. So you can see that here, VS Code website. So this is a text editor that can be used for both Windows and Mac. So if whether you're on Windows or Mac, this will work for you. So when you open the website, you can just choose the download button, download for Windows, or if you're on Mac, you can just click on this drop down and then you select Mac or Linux. And after you do that, I think you should start downloading. So when you finish downloading, you should now install, and then you have the text editor. So after you've successfully installed the VS Code editor, you should open the Visual Studio Code. So when you open your text editor, you should get something like this. And to start with, we're going to open a new file by going to File and open a new file. So this is going to be an HTML file. We're going to save this and call this index.html. So save that, and we have this. So to begin using CSS, it requires HTML. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It is used to style HTML documents. So if you have an HTML and you want to style it, you want to put colors, you want to make things look good, you're going to use CSS. So that's basically what CSS does. It makes your HTML look good. So since CSS is used to style HTML, that means we need to have an HTML code. So and that's why we're going to write an HTML file here. So with this code editor, there's a lot of shortcuts that we can use to just get things working, so that we'll get to do things in with speed. So to bring out the HTML skeleton, you just write HTML and you get these options. So choose the HTML5, the second option, and you get the HTML code here. So the title, let's call this styling. That's the title. So now what we're going to do is to actually include some files. So let's say h1, the heading, and then we'll type welcome to our CSS styling. Cool. So we're going to add a paragraph. So there is a text. There are some text that this editor comes with, the VS Code comes with. When you write lorem, L-O-R-E-M, and you hit enter, you have a lot of stuffs coming out. So let's add something of that nature again, p tag, and then we'll have lorem. This time around, let's just say 40, and then you hit the tab, and it's cool, it's out. So let's save this. So we now have an HTML file. So let's open this in the browser and see how it looks. So I'm going to copy the path to this file and open up my browser. Now paste the path here and open the file. So this is how the file looks like. We have a heading and we have some text here. So this is just to have a content in this place, which is cool. So now this is just a basic HTML. We have not really done anything. It's just the HTML. We have a heading and some paragraphs. So now let's go back to the text editor. Let's go back to the text editor and then we'll begin using CSS. So to begin using CSS in your HTML, there are three ways you can do that. Number one is by using what is known as an inline styling. Number two is by using the style tag, and number three is by using an external CSS file. So let's go through them one by one. So the first one is by using the inline styling. So to do an inline styling, you have to go through the particular, like the specific HTML tag you want to affect a style to, and then you apply the style. So for example, supposing we want to change the color of this h1 element, we'll just come to the h1 element and then we'll type in a style using the style attribute, and then we'll now like style equal to, and then we'll give in a quote. So inside the code now we can then write whatever CSS code we want to write. So in this case we want to change the color of this text to, let's say, red. So to do that, you're gonna say color and then you just put a colon and then give in the color itself, whether red, green, or what have you. So and then put a semicolon. So when you save this and go to browser and refresh, you see that the color has been changed to red. So basically that's how you apply CSS to an element. So this is an inline styling. This is just for this element. So when you want to apply like the same style, maybe it's a color red to this like paragraph, you have to like write it inside this paragraph. Right, you now say color and then you put in red and then a semicolon. So save this, and when you refresh, you get the same thing. So this is basically how you like do inline styling. You have to go to the element itself and then apply the style. So that is inline styling. So that's one way you can style your HTML. So number two is by using the style tag. So if you want to use the style tag to style your HTML, you go to the heading and then you call in the style tag. So now between these style tags is now where you're going to write in your CSS code. So now let's get rid of this inline styling and make use of the style tag. Cool. So now what we did in the last in the last section is inline styling. So what we did was to go to that particular element and apply a style to it. So in the case of the style tag, we're going to grab the element and bring it into this place, and then we'll now do the styling we want to do. So in the previous section we changed the color of the h1 to red, and that's what we're going to do, but this time we're going to use the style tag. So what you're going to do is to grab the heading itself, and then by using the tag for now, so let's just write h1. So that will grab the HTML tag, the HTML h1 tag, and then we'll now put in a curly braces. So in this curly braces we now type in the CSS code that we want to type. So what we want to do, we want to change the color to red. So save this and go back to the browser, and you notice that the color of the heading is red. Now when you want to change that of the paragraph, you also call the p tag and then you put in a curly braces, and then in here you type in color red. So when you save this and go to the browser and refresh, we can see that everything is red. So we actually selected all p tags. So when you like color tag, it's going to select all the tag. We can we'll fix that later on, but this is to get you with the basis of actually styling using the style tag. So that's the second way you can style your HTML. So the first one was to use the inline styling, and then the second one is to use the style tag. So now let's get rid of this and then introduce the third way you can do styling. So let's save this. When you go to your browser, you're going to have the initial HTML we wrote. So the third way is to use an external CSS. So what that means is that you're going to create a new file and then you type in your CSS in that file, and then you now make reference to that file in your HTML file. So what we're going to do is to open a new file by hitting Ctrl+N, and then this is where we're going to write our CSS. So what we did in the previous section was to grab the H1, just grab the H1 and then you type in the curly braces, and then inside of curly braces you have your CSS code. So it's just like it's exactly what we did in the HTML style tag, but this is in another file. So we're going to just say color and then we change this to red, and now let's save this. So when you're saving this, you're going to save this as style. This is just the name, it can be anything, style, style sheet, whatever you give it. So but the extension is going to be .css, so it's style.css, and then you save that. So the second thing we did was to grab the paragraph tag and then we applied the color to red. So we choose a red color. So save this. Now when you have this file, even when you go to your HTML and your browser and refresh, it's not going to take effect. So you need to like reference that file in your HTML. So both this file and the CSS file reside in the same directory. So to link to that file, you're going to like go into your heading, into your head tag, and then you use the link tag, link, the link tag. So in this href, you're going to type in the file, and the name of the file is style.css. So you put this and save. Now you go to your browser and refresh, you notice that everything works perfectly. So that's like the last way you can apply CSS to HTML. The first was using an inline styling, the second was using a style tag, and the third is using an extra file. So the second and the third are similar, except that you write your CSS in an external file. So now, which of these is the best way to actually style your HTML? So using an inline styling is not a good practice. Using the style tag is better, but it's not the best. So the best way to actually style your file is to use an external CSS. You're going to understand this better when you work on a project, because you're going to be linking, like when you're working on nav bars, you're going to have your navigation bar in one file, and then you now be calling it in all of your pages so that all your navigation will appear in all of the pages. So that is the basic explanation that I can even do on why you should have your CSS in an external file. CSS selectors. So to apply styling to your elements in the HTML file, you're going to grab those elements. So, and there are many ways you can grab the elements. So we're going to talk about like 3 ways you can grab an element in this section of the course. So we're not going to use the link tag. Just to speed things up, we're going to use the style tag, style. So we're going to talk about 3 ways you can select your elements and then apply styles to them. So we've already seen one in the previous sections where we use HTML tags and apply styles to them. So there are 2 more ways that we're going to talk about, which is by using classes and IDs. So the first one is by using the HTML tag. So you can just come here and then call in the h1 tag, and then you can apply some things to it. So you can apply a background color. So you just write background, then you get background color. So call this gray. And then not just that, we can also apply the text color. Then let's call that white. So we can apply a lot of things to it. So you can even apply like the font size to increase it. Then let's say this is 2M. So let's save this, and then go to our browser and refresh. So you can see that we have a background in the h1 element. We have a background, a gray background, and then the text has been changed to white. So whenever we have an h1 element, that's what's going to happen. So even when we have a new h1 element, and let's say in this one we just say this is a heading, so when we save this and refresh, that is what's going to happen again. So it's going to have the style of, so like all h1 are going to have this styling, a gray background and a white color. So all h1 are going to have that. So we can also do the same thing to the paragraph by calling the p tag, and then we can also apply whatever we want to apply to it. So let's say the color is green for the p tag. So when we go back and refresh, we'll have a green color. Cool. So these are just ways that you can actually grab HTML tags and apply styles to them. You can even grab the body tag and then you give it a background color, and then you can give it a color, let's say yellow. So when you go and refresh, you can see that the body is yellow background. So these are just ways that you can actually style your HTML file using the tags. So by selecting the tags, so that's one way, by using the tags. So another way we're going to talk about, I'm going to take away all these ones, is by using classes. So classes are reusable in any of your HTML documents. So like in the previous section, we were applying the same styling to different elements, and we have to like kind of like redefine all those things. So by using classes, you just use it once and then you apply it to any element you want to apply it to. So to create a class, you go to the place you want to apply the class to, and you just say class. So let's call this class blue text. So what this class will be doing is to change our text to blue. So this is the class we have created, and we have actually applied it to the first h1. So when we come to our style, to actually call a class, you're going to call it, you put in a dot and then you put the name of the class, which is blue text. Then you now put in your curly braces and then you start styling. So all what this is going to do is to change our text to blue. All it's going to do is to change to blue. So let's save this, and then we have applied it to the h1, the first h1. So we're going to the browser and refresh. You see that the first h1 is blue. Now we won't just be applying this to the h1, we can also extend it to the paragraph and whatever. So we come to the first paragraph and then we type in class. We set the class equal to, we just need to assign, and then we say blue text. So when you save this and go to your browser and refresh, you can see that this first paragraph too is blue. So with a class, you can apply it to any element and it's going to work perfectly. So the classes are reusable. So you can have another class that will change it to, let's say, green background. So let's call this green background. So cool. So and what this will do is just change the background to green. So whenever we apply this green back, it's going to change the background of that element to green. So when we go to body and we apply class to body, and then we call the class green back, green dash back, and then we save this, going back to the browser and refresh, we will see that the background has been changed to green. So you can apply styles to any elements. So even with this, we can just like put in style, class. We'll put in class and then we'll call this green back. Now you save this and refresh, it's going to change the background of this P to green. So that's basically how you use classes. There are two things you should notice. The first one is like when you are like doing the style in the CSS, you're going to put a dot in the class name. But when you are applying the class to HTML elements, you don't put a dot. So that's what I wanted to like clear out. So now the third one is by using the ID. So the ID is unique, it's specific to an element. So it is a taboo to use an ID for more than one element. So with the case of a class, you can use a class for more than one element, but with an ID, it's going to be used for one element. And to create an ID, let's clear this. You're going to use a hash. Instead of using a dot, you're going to use a hash, and then you type in the class name, the ID name. So let's say this ID is going to change our background. ID BG. BG, that's all. So it's going to change the background. So we're going to say, okay, background, let's change this to blue. So to actually make this BG work, we're going to apply it to the element we want. So let's apply it to this h1 element, and then we'll say ID equals to, and then just as with the class, you don't put in the dot here, you just put in the class, the ID name, which is BG. When you go to the browser and refresh, it is there. So this is how you create an ID, and then this is how you apply it to an element. So the ID is just going to be used for this one. When you want to use a new ID, you just have to create a new ID and say, okay, BG2, and then you now apply whatever you want to apply. So let's say this one is going to be a background of yellow. Say so when you apply this to this h1, you say ID equals to, and then you put in BG2 and save it. Go back to this place and refresh, you have a background too, which is cool. So that's basically how you work with, that's basically how you create and apply an ID and a class, and how you call HTML tags. So this is all about selections. Like this is basically how you deal with selecting elements and applying styles to your HTML. Styling texts. So in this section, we're going to be looking at some of the properties, some of the styles that we can apply to text. So in this place, we already have some element here that we've styled, and we'll just like kind of see how we can style text. So I'm going to clear all these ones that we have, and also clear the ones that are inside this place. So I'll clear this too. So let's go back to browser and refresh, and we have a basic HTML. So you can apply a lot of styles to text. Some of them we're going to treat now. So you can make the text bigger, you can change even the font size, you can do a lot of things. You can even change the colors. So let's begin by the color, the text color. So to change the color of the text to red, you're going to select the text that you want to do, but let's just create a class. So let's call this one text, and then we'll give it a color braces, and then to change the color, you're going to say color, and then you change, given the color you want, red, green, what have you, and then you save that. And then to actually make this work, you have to, even when you go to your browser refresh, it doesn't work, you have to apply it to an element. So since this is a class, we'll use the class attribute and then put the text. So let's go back and refresh, and it will be affected. So this has been changed to a red text. So that is to change the color. Now we can also change the font size. We can increase the size by using the font size, and then let's say this is 3M. So when you save this and go back to and refresh, you see that it's kind of bigger. So you can also change the font type of the text. You can change the handwriting basically. So using the font family, and then you can apply a lot of handwriting. So let's choose this and save this. So when you refresh, you see that the handwriting has been, the style has been changed, the font style has been changed to the one you selected. So that's applying the font family. So you can also move your text to right or left, that is the alignment. So you can say text align, text align, and then you can take it to the center or the right. So when you refresh, you see that this is in the middle. There are a lot of things you can do with text, but like this are the basis: the font size, the direction, whether you want it to be in the middle or the left or the right, and also other things. You can apply the same stylings to like the paragraph tag by just coming to the paragraph and saying class equal to, and then you type in the class name, which is text. So when you save this and go back, you refresh, you notice that this paragraph has the same size, the same alignment, and the same font style. Everything is just like that of the heading because you apply the same class to it. So this is basically what you can do with text. You can change the color, you can increase the size, you can change the font family, and you can even align the text. Borders in CSS. So you can apply borders to elements and also modify them to your liking. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply a border to this h1 class. The class is text, so we already have a class here. So all we just need to do is to apply a border. Now to apply a border, you're going to use the border. There are actually three properties you can give to a border. We have the border width, the border color, and the border style. So we'll do those one by one. So let's go with the border color. Now let's call this, let's say this is blue, and then we'll add a border style, and then we'll call this, let's say this is solid. So it's going to be a normal line that will surround the border. You can have a dot surrounding it, but we're going to use solid for now. And then the third one is the border width. So let's say this is 2 pixels. So let's save this, copy this file, the path, and open in the browser. So let's open this in the browser. So you can see that both of our elements that have the same class have a border, which is a blue border. They have a blue border, and it is a line that is surrounding it of 2 pixels. So we can change that by saying 4 pixels. That is the width. And when we refresh, it is kind of thicker than before. That's what the width does. And then the solid is to actually give you a line. If you want it dotted, you can say this is dotted, and when you refresh, you see that it's a dotted border. Cool. So that's basically all you can do with borders. So now instead of doing this border style, border color, border width separately, you can just do everything by using the border property. So you just say border, and then you now put in the order of what you put in doesn't matter. You can put in 4 pixel, solid, and blue. So this will do the same thing. When you save this and refresh, you have the same thing. You can change this to dotted, and it does the same thing. So you don't have to like specify the border width, border style, and border color separately. You can just use the border property and then put these values however you want them. So there is no, the order doesn't matter. You can bring the pixel in the middle and it will still work the same way. Refresh, we still have the same thing. Cool. CSS padding. So padding is a space that is surrounding your elements, so that's surrounding your content but before the border. So the space that is between your content and the border is what is padding. So you can apply that, and padding has like 4 directions, like the top, the bottom, the right, and the left. So you can do that by saying padding top. You specify, you do them one by one. So we can give it this, let's say this is 2m, padding top 2m, and then padding bottom, let's say that is 2m also. So let's save this and see the changes. We've changed the top and the bottom. So when you refresh this, you can see that the top and the bottom there are a lot of space. Now let's try the right and the left. So let's go with the right first. Padding right. So padding right, let's say this is 2m. So let's refresh this, which is the right. So you can see the right we have more space. Now I'll do the left too. We're going to have padding left, and then this is 2m also. So now let's refresh and see, and we have equal padding around our content. So that's just what padding does. It allows you to give space between your content and the border. So instead of doing these things separately, you can use the padding property and just giving all of them all at once. So you start with the top, let's say this top is 2m, and then you give in the right, let's say that is 3m. Then you now give in the bottom, let's say that is 4m, and then you give in the last one, which is the left, let's say that is 5m. So let's save this and go to the browser and refresh, and you'll see the changes. So you can see starting from the top, which is 2m, this is the space, and then going to the right, which is 3m, this is the space, and then coming to the bottom, which is this down, this 4m, and then the left is 5m. So it goes in a clockwise direction from top to the right, to the bottom, and to the left. So that's basically how you apply padding to your elements. CSS margins. So margins are the space after the border. So to understand margins better, we're going to take away the padding, and then we'll apply this style to the h1 tag, the following h1 tag. So let's say this has the same. So we'll change this, we'll take away the font size. Cool. So now let's refresh and see how this works. So the next thing we'll do is to remove this from here, and then let's change this to solid, the border solid. Cool. So we have this 2 elements with a border. So now we're going to increase the space after the border, which is the margin. You can do that like the top, the bottom, the right, and the left. So we can do that by saying margin top, then we can give it, let's say 2m. Now let's save this and refresh the page and see how it looks like. We can see the top, we have a space now after. So that's what margin does. We can do that with the, let's say the left, margin left, let's say that is also 2m. Let's refresh and see, and the left has 2m. So we left with the right, margin right, let's say that is also 2m, and then margin bottom, that's also 2m. So save this and refresh your page, notice that we have 2M all around our border. So the top, the right, and everything is 2M. So that's basically what margin does to add a space after the border. And that is it applies to both of our elements, the h1 tag and this also heading. So like instead of having, just like padding and border, instead of having defining top, bottom, and this, you just define the margin and then you pass in what you want to give. So we can say the top is 2M, and then the right is 3M, the bottom is 4M, and then the left is 5M. So save this and refresh your browser and you notice all the changes. So starting from the top, we have 2M, then going to the right 3M, the bottom 4M, and then the left 5M. So that's basically how you work with margins. CSS positioning. To position your element in CSS, you're going to make use of some styling. So if you want your elements to appear in some section of the page, or you want them to stick to a certain position, or some other styling that you want, you might want to use position. So position in CSS. To begin with our positioning, we're going to open a new file and save this as position.html. Position.html. So you save this, and then you put in HTML, and then HTML5, you click on that, take away all these things, we don't need them. So in this place we're going to type in positioning. Cool. So all you're going to do here is to create 5 div elements. So div, and then we will give it a class. Let's say this is a box. So we're going to create 5 boxes. So this first one is going to be static. I will create another class, box, and the name is going to be relative. We'll create a third one with the same box. This one is going to be fixed, and then the fourth one is going to be absolute. Then the last one is going to be sticky. So these things I listed here, the static, relative, fixed, absolute, and sticky, these are the ways you can position your HTML elements in your web page using CSS. But these are the names, these are different kinds of ways you can position them. The static means that you're just leaving it the way it is, which is the default if you're not using any of the positioning item. So static, relative, fixed, absolute, and sticky. You see how all of this works. We are going to create a box which we have given it a name in the class. We are going to create a box for each of them, and then we'll now be calling them one by one and see how they work. So let's get started. Type in our style tag, and then in here we'll start styling. So the name of the class is box. We're trying to create a box for each element. So the first thing to do is to actually change the display to inline block. That's the first thing. Then the next thing is to give in a background color. Background, let's call it red. Then we'll pass in the height and the width. So the height is 100 pixel and the width is also 100 pixel. Cool. So let's take a look at this and see how it looks in the browser. I'll copy the path to the file, and then we'll go to the browser, paste that here, open it. So you can see that we have 5 different boxes, which with each of the name, which you can see that I have 5 different boxes, each with the name of a positioning property. with a position value. So let's change this color, the background, the text color, to white, and see, so that I can see it clearly. Cool. So we have our boxes now. So the next thing we'll do is to give an ID to each of these elements. So this one, let's just call this one 1, and then this one is going to be 2, and we'll do that all to the end. ID equal to 3. ID equal to 4. And the last one, ID equal to 5. FIVE. Cool. So we now use this to style into the individual elements that we have in our web page. So starting with the first one, when you're working with an ID, you're using a sharp instead of using a period. So you use the hash to call the first one, which is 1. Then you're going to pass in the curly braces. And then what we're going to do, there is a property, a CSS property that's called position. So that is what you actually use to position your elements. So the first one is just 1, which I've selected, and then we will now use the property position to choose this the value for the positioning of the element. So the first one is static, and that's what we're going to choose for the first one. So we'll grab the second item, which is 2, and then we give it a property of our position whose value will be relative. Cool. Then we'll grab the third item, and then the position is going to be fixed. We'll grab the fourth item. Let's check the class name 4. So this is not third, this is 3. Then this one is 4. And then we'll change the position, change it to absolute. Then we'll now grab the last item, which is 5, and then the position is going to be sticky. So these are the various ways we can apply positioning to our elements. So when we go to the browser and refresh, we'll notice that 2 have disappeared because we have not actually styled where they should. We have not chosen the position of the page that they should appear. So before we do any of those ones, we're going to actually bring in some text using the p tag. We'll type lorem, and then let's just say 100. So we have a text there. So after this element, we'll now have another p tag, and we have lorem 200. We can have another one again, p tag lorem 300. So cool. Now let's open this and see how it looks. So we have a very good item here. Let me just zoom in so we can see clearer. So we have a cool item here. So what we now do is to actually give the position that we want each of our elements. What we now do is to give the position that we want each of our elements to appear. Now starting with the first one, which is static, we can use 2 CSS properties to see how we can do that. So let's use top. So let's give this, let's say 100 pixel. So from the top downwards, it should give 100 pixels before displaying this element. And then the left, let's say this is 30 pixel. Save this and go to the browser. When you refresh, nothing is going to happen because this is the position of this is static. You cannot change the position. So let's ignore that and go to the second one, and let's just use this same position for the second item. So we have those there. Now let's refresh and see whether it works. You can see the second item, which is relative, it has moved to the position that we give to it. So supposing we say, okay, it should move 60 pixels to the left, and then let's refresh and see. I can see that from the left to the item, it gives 60 pixels of space before bringing in the item. And then the top, we can increase that. We can say 200. Now when you refresh that, you see that the item is there. So that's cool. This item is now positioned in 200 pixel by 60 pixel. That's where it's now located. That is for the relative. So when we apply this specific styling to the static, it didn't work, because once it is static, it means you can't actually change the position. It has to be there. So you can now see that with relative, you can move the box to somewhere else. Now let's try the third one, which is fixed. Now let's put this item in a position, and when it's in that position, it's going to be fixed. But let's just see how it works. By putting the top, let's say this is 500 pixel, and then left is 400 pixel. So let's save this and refresh our browser. You can see that the item is fixed. The item is fixed. Now let's zoom in and try to scroll up and down. You can see that even as we scroll, the item still maintains its position. So it has been dropped in that position, and even when you scroll up and down, it's going to remain in that position. So that's what a fixed item does. When you make your item to be in a fixed position, even when you drag up and down, that item is going to appear. That's it for fixed. Now let's go to the next one, which is absolute, and then let's try putting the top and the left. So let's say the top is let's say this is 600 pixel, and then the left is 500 pixel. So let's save this and refresh our browser, and you can see that I have this here, absolute, but it disappears when, so it is the fixed item that remains in its position. Now the last one to try is the sticky. So let's place this in the top, and maybe 200 pixel top, and then the left, let's say this is 600 left. We're going to, this is 600 pixel. So let's refresh our page and see how it works. So you can see the sticky item is there. So even when you drag up and down, the item is going to maintain its position. So that's how the sticky item works. So with this now, you should be able to understand how positioning works. That when you place an item in a specific position, this is what's going to happen. If you use the static position, it's going to, like, it's not even going to take anything like to change its position to another position. It's not going to work. It's going to be there. And when you use the relative, it will change to the position you give to it. And when you use absolute, it's going to change the position you give to it. So like, it's only the static that won't change position, but any other one will change its position, except that there are different behaviors. So like when you make use of the fixed content, it's going to be fixed in that position, and even when you drag up and down, it's going to be fixed in that position. And when you use the absolute, it's going to change the position that you give to it. And when you use the sticky, it's going to be in that position too. So like the sticky and the fixed content kind of like have a similar behavior. So that's all we're going to talk about with regards to positioning in CSS. So we've come to the end of our CSS tutorial. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and also enable the bell to get new content, fresh content as we release them. So in our next video, we are going to explain the CSS grid and flexbox. You wouldn't want to miss that, so see you in the next video.